Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jean, the Digital Event Coordinator at Connecting Up and TechSoup New Zealand. We are part of the Info Exchange Group, a not-for-profit social enterprise that tackles the biggest social challenges by creating use of technology. Today, I'm very excited to welcome you to join Activate Your Marketing Action Plan, Top Tips and Strategies for Not-for-Profit with Belle Timby, the owner of Digital Services Lab. Digital Services Lab specializes in creating websites and digital strategy for not-for-profit and for-purpose businesses. They provide exceptional digital solutions as unique as you are. Belle is having extensive background in community leadership and in not-for-profit sector, complemented by skills in software development, marketing, operational planning, and digital strategy. She works with clients to understand their unique qualities and goals, then develop the strategy needed to amplify their online presence. As a husband and wife team, Digital Services Lab combines their passions for not-for-profit sector with digital expertise to deliver high-quality, high-value marketing solutions through website development and design, SEO solutions, digital strategy, and training. Before we begin, we'll start with a bit of housekeeping. All lines are muted. If you have any technical issues, please type into the questions box and I'll be here to assist you. If you have any questions during the sections, please also type into the questions box and Belle will get them answered by the end. Please make it as interactive as possible. There's no silly questions, so please feel free to type any questions if you wish. Please note that the webinar is being recorded. The link with the recording and slides will be sent to you in 1 to 2 business days. And there's a very short survey at the end. Please help us to complete that for an even better experience in the future. All right, now I'll hand over to Belle for today's section. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. And hello, everybody. Happy Chinese New Year. What an exciting time for everybody celebrating the Lunar New Year. And I hope you are doing well. So I'm just going to share my screen with you all. And I just wanted to say thanks very much for joining us today. And I acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the first people whose lands, winds, and waters we now share. I pay tribute to their ancient and enduring wisdom and cultures and their journey that deepens and enriches us as individuals and as community. We recognise that Aboriginal people, as the traditional custodians of the land, have a spiritual, social, cultural, and economic relationship to nature and life. So I wanted to find out today where you are joining us from. We didn't have an abundance of answers that you can choose in our poll, but if you can just give me a response as best you can with the answers we have. Jean, can you put up that first poll for us?
Sure, no problem. So it's just put up. So the first poll is where are you joining us from today? So we got New South Wales or Victoria. The second is Northern Territory. The third is Queensland. The fourth is Tasmania. And the last one is New Zealand.
And I know not everybody is captured here. So if you are closest to one of those states, click one of those. And if you're New Zealand or another country, please choose that one. Thank you.
All right, now we got 90% voted. So let's give a few seconds more. All righty. So let me share the poll's results.
Thank you.
Can you see that, Belle?
I can, thank you. So we've got a majority of people coming from New South Wales or Victoria today. And hello, New Zealand or other. Good to have you here. Queensland, yes. And a little bit of representation for Tasmania. I'm sorry if you are from another place, if you haven't had to you haven't been able to pop your answer in, you can put it in chat so that we all know. So this really helps me inform a little bit about the direction of the webinar today. So thank you for answering that poll, and Jean, you can now move the answers away.
Oh, we got participants. Mary, she's saying that she is from Western Australia, so she's
Okay.
saying that she left out from the list because the border is closed.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Mary.
Sorry, give me 1 second. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yep, got it.
Thank you. Thanks, Jean. Okay, so we know where you're from. Now, why are we here today? So what we've got today for you is a very basic marketing action plan that I'm actually hoping that you can complete in what we'll call this hour of power. So we're going to set some goals and draft that simple marketing action plan today. We're going to consider some of your content direction for 2022. And I've got a template which will help you fill out what we're covering today. So Jean, would you mind just re-sharing that link? It's a direct download of a Word document and it's a marketing action plan template, so everybody can download that. Thank you very much.
Just joined the group.
Excellent. And the result of doing this marketing action plan is that we hope that you're able to consider your direction to make an impact, select the social media channels that you might use to reach your audience, what might need to be done on your website, and what other marketing channels you might use to get your message out there. So I did have with me today, I usually have a guest presenter, Laura. Unfortunately, she can't be here today, but I am still going to give her a shameless plug. So Laura is the owner of the Inspired Hive and usually supports me with the social media and the marketing elements of this, and I support with the website and some of the content direction. We both have skills that overlap. I do recommend Laura if you are looking for a mentor when it comes to social media. So sometimes we can't afford to just outsource all this stuff ourselves. But if you are looking for mentoring, then I think Laura is a wonderful person to go with. Unfortunately, she's ill today and can't be here. But definitely check her out and reach out to her if you would like some of that support. And I am Belle Temby. So for those of you who may have not seen me on webinars before, I do quite a lot of them with Connecting Up. I live on what's known as the Sapphire Coast in a tiny seaside village of Mallacoota, Victoria. I live here with my husband, who is also my business partner, and my lovely dog, Cherry. So a bit about me personally, I am a serial volunteer. I've worked on numerous executives, committees, boards of management, all the different names for it. And I've also run not-for-profit organisations myself. I'm really community-minded person. And I've basically lived and breathed not-for-profits and technology for the past 15 years. So my studies have included social science, marketing, and business, which is what has led me here today. So the company that I run, Jean did give us a bit of an overview at the beginning, but basically we love working with people who love doing good. We do have a small team of professionals here, and they consist of graphic designers, website designers, copywriters, and website developers. We work with government clients, non-profits, and for-purpose businesses across Australia and New Zealand. And we are located at the OC House, which is a non-profit work hub in North Melbourne when we're in town in the city of Melbourne. So that's just a little bit about our organisation, and we do specialise in WordPress. So we offer WordPress web design and development, and we offer WordPress website care plans, helping you to continue that ongoing management of a website in the event we haven't built it. I've kept Laura's slide in here. So again, her services are around communication and marketing strategies, and then she offers training. She does marketing strategy, social media management, mentoring, and then trains in social media, digital learning, and marketing. So that's the summary for the two presenters who are now one. I'm all on my own. So before we begin our plan today, I hope you've got your download. So just a reminder that there is a download available. Download that template and you can start filling that out with me on your computer. Hopefully you have two screens, but if not, you can just follow along, potentially watch the recording, however it works for you, or start taking notes. So before we begin our plan, there are absolutely some things that we need to be aware of. Before even looking at your marketing plan, you're going to need to know who your audience or audiences are. In the not-for-profit sector, we often have a lot of stakeholders, so we need to know all of those people down, keep them in mind when we're forming our marketing messages. We can't talk to everybody, so it's really important that we hone in on who we are talking to. We are going to cover a bit about audience awareness in a few minutes, and you just want to know who are they, where are they, how old are they, and what are they going through at the moment. Your website, if you're going to be offering or investing time, money, energy into marketing, then your website is usually the place that your calls to action end up in. So your website needs to function properly, because it's going to turn people off if it's not functioning properly. It needs to be well designed and intuitive, so that when a user lands on the website, they know where to go and they know what you're about, and they know what you want them to do next. Your website needs to be useful, easy to navigate, and it absolutely has to be mobile friendly in today's age. A lot of people, if they're looking at your social medias, their next point of call will be your website, and they'll be looking at that from their phone. It's the natural progression of people on social media. It's dominated by people using mobile phones, and then the flow through effect of that means that when they land on your website, they're often on a mobile phone. So that should be correlating to the data that you have if you have analytics set up. You also need to allocate resources. So you have to be thinking, if you don't have budget, as in money, you need people, or you need to invest time yourself. So what are the resources that you can bring to this? And there's lots of ways around marketing budgets. So you also then need to plan the what, the why, the when, the who, and set some goals. And you have to understand your baseline data. So track what you're doing is working, and set some KPIs around how you'll know if your effort is being rewarded by having more people engaging, more people connecting, more people signing up, more people advocating, donating, fundraising, whatever your goal is. And of course, today, when we promoted this course, we were talking about the COVID context. So I think it's pretty clear to all of us, we've got 60% of people here from Melbourne and Victoria, that we are now living with this pandemic. Things, can we say things haven't gone according to plan? And we all had these high hopes of moving through this pandemic. We never knew what to expect. Now we're here in the situation we're in. There's lots of people in isolation. We are still experiencing the same issues with community connection, isolation that we were years ago. It's somewhat more concerning for people now. There's lots of different takes on it. There's lots of opinions out there, and a lot of our messaging now, it can't really ignore that anymore. So if you haven't already adapted, which a lot of organizations have, we need to continually think about how we might adapt and how we might connect in these particular times. So I've got some thoughts and considerations for that, and hopefully that's in your thoughts and considerations as well. So that is just some absolute must of what you need to be aware of moving into a marketing action plan, is that all these things have to be considered. And the next thing about a marketing action plan is it actually all starts with you. So not-for-profits that I meet have an incredible heart. They go to incredible lengths to fulfill their mission, And sometimes where they fall short is actually communicating why you exist to your audience. So just remembering that why. So your vision is where you are ultimately headed, your big why, the heart of your organization. Your mission, how do you achieve your vision? How do you make that come alive? And then your values, so the daily principles that guide your practice. It is important to start with that, because when you communicate your message and your why to a larger audience, then people have an affinity to that or not. So like I said, you can't please everyone and you can't speak to everyone, but if you start with the heart of your organization and communicating that to others, then you have a really good basis for people being able to say, yes, that aligns with me. I love what these people are doing. I want to be a part of it. And that being a part of it might be that they're a client, they're a family member who's referring somebody in. We all have lots of different organizations that we're working for. It could be that you're speaking to donors or people that are going to fundraise or advocate for your course or sign petitions. There's just so many different reasons. And it all has to start with you and your core. I often hear that organizations are updating their vision, their mission, and their values. And I think that's good, because sometimes they can be quite archaic and a little bit dry. So I think even if you have a way of presenting that vision that does make it sound a little bit more human and a little bit less organization heavy, I think that's a really good place to be. So in your, I've just got some examples here of brilliant vision and mission statements. One is, I won't read them out, you can see them on the screen, but one of them is from Transition Village Wallen. And what I like about this, it just really gets to the crux of what they do. We want to build an off-the-grid tiny house community designed to accommodate homeless people with the dignity and care they deserve. Like, everybody can get on board with that message. It's not confusing and it cuts through the noise. And the way that they're going to do that is to provide safe, short-term supported accommodation for local people experiencing or at risk of homelessness in a village of tiny homes. So really cool project. They're one of our clients. And like I said, what I love about that vision and mission statement is there's no guessing about what they do, and anybody that comes into the organization understands it really well. There is another example there for you to refer to later. So I imagine, and we'll do a poll in a moment just to check how many people do have their vision, mission, and value statements. In your plan that you've been provided, if you could please write in your vision, mission, and values there, that will help you keep that in mind as you go through the whole session. So Jean, could we please have another poll for oh, sorry, this isn't a poll about the, I'm sorry, I changed the polls last night, everybody. If you have a vision, mission, value statement, if you could just write yes in chat, or if you're working on it, if you could put that in the chat box, that'd be great, so everybody can get a feel for where you're at. Okay.
There's 5 of them saying yes, like 5, 6. We got Mary, Gray, Nicole, Natalie, Brad, Alice, Rhines. So we have 7 of them answer yes. And we got Shahar, Manya. So we got 9 numbers coming up. 10, Elise also say yes. All right, we got 10 of them. And
okay,
Mary.
Beautiful.
Dana.
Thank you. And Mary said that. Thank you, Mary.
Cool.
So the next question, the next poll I have, which I snuck in last night and then forgot, is, does your organization include COVID messaging in your marketing? Has that been something that you have been onto in the past couple of years? So yes, no, thinking about it, or other. And if it's other, I would like to hear about what your stance is from an organisation perspective about COVID messaging. And I think
All
this
right.
is a really beneficial question for the rest of the group to actually hear what other people are doing and to understand if that's a strong component of their marketing at the moment.
All right. We got close to 85% voted. Just a couple of seconds. We'll share the poll. We'll share
Thank
the
you.
results. All right. Okay, we hit 90%. Let's share the results. Can you see that, Belle?
Yeah, I can. Okay, so all right, 48% of people are including COVID messaging in their market. 26%, so almost, yeah, another 48% are actually thinking about it or not doing it at all, and then other is the 4%. So I would be interested in what in how that other is working, what they're doing.
I got one response about the other, so that's Mary. So the message is about looking for alternative funding sources as COVID has affected some, and updates to donors on COVID impacts on people we are supporting.
Okay, great. Yeah, good. Okay, thank you very much for that. So Jean, do you want to take the poll down now, please? And great. Excellent, thank you. Good. Okay, so considering that you're thinking about COVID messaging or that people don't have it, I'm really happy to hear that some people do have that messaging there, because I think, you know, where we're at now is that we can't get away from this. It's happening, we're in it. And I think people are looking for a lot of assurance and they're looking for a lot of direction. And as the not-for-profit industry is so instrumental in people's lives and how their lives take shape, especially in vulnerable times, it is important to continually be the leader in that space. So in your marketing action plan, we want to try and be clear on your organization's goals for 2022. So it's not always up to the marketing team if you are a marketing team, or if you're a much smaller organization, however it plays out. We need to be clear, and this isn't just your marketing goals, this is your organization goals, because they should almost be the same thing. So if you want to increase participation in programs, activities, and courses, then obviously that's what you're going to market in. If your goal is to launch a new program or service, and perhaps it's an online service, or perhaps you're going to move into a more hybrid model so that you can accommodate people who just aren't feeling safe enough, or are those more vulnerable people to come out into the community to have face-to-face interactions and connections, are you thinking of launching a new program or a service that is going to accommodate those people in the times that we're in? Are you looking to review your website to ensure it's up to date, make sure that it's mobile friendly and provides a good user experience, and also captures some of the time that we're in as well? Another goal that you may have is apply for numerous grants and win a percentage of them. So we had a comment about that earlier. So and these all feed into each other. So if your goal is to increase participation, launch new programs and services, review a website, then perhaps you need grants to actually fund that, or perhaps you have some budget or time or resources that you're able to offer into that. The other goal is it might be around your community messaging. So for those people who are thinking about messaging, especially in the COVID times that we're in, it might be that you have a goal to provide a consistent and reassuring message for the community, or it could be, and that could be around a number of avenues. There's so many tangents that you can take on what that messaging might be. But I think at this point, if you can be clear on what your organization's goals are for 2022, then you can be clear on the direction that your marketing is going to take. So in the template that we have provided, we've put in here to just write your organizational goals down. So that feeds on nicely from your vision, the heart of your organization, and then into the organization goals that you actually have. So some examples are here again, just to be quite specific on your goals. Create digital learning courses within 2022 to offer more flexible learning options. And those flexible learning options could be for staff, or they could be for participants or family members. And that's a good way of providing, even if it's not a digital learning course, it could be video, or just a way that people can still maintain a connection with you, understand what you're all about, and understand new ways in which they can seek help or solve the problems that you help them answer. And it might be to source funding and deliver a community project that has a focus on sustainability for people to implement at home. It could be that you're going to be focusing on well-being and how people are going to improve their well-being whilst going through this next year of COVID and the ongoing uncertainty about all of the pandemic. There could be some smaller goals like reducing printing waste, reactivating our courses or programs in new ways in 2022. So write down your organizational goals, and next we have to get to the budget and marketing side of your marketing action plan. So like I said at the beginning, you actually need to have a budget. The budget doesn't have to be cash dollars, but it absolutely needs to have a consideration of human resources in the event of not having dollars. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to market anything if you actually don't have the time. And this really comes down to, again, in your plan, making sure that you allocate time or money, having a routine around your marketing. I think some people get really overwhelmed and you've got all these great goals that you want to achieve, but you actually just don't have the time to do it. So I would say pull that all the way back if you don't have the time, and look at 3 main things that you can achieve. It could be in the space of 90 days, it could be each week. So do you have a volunteer or someone that you can call on that can support you? There's actually a lot of people that are home at the moment. They're working from home. They have less connection than usual. And if you can provide them an opportunity to get involved and help them contribute back, then you've got a whole new volunteer resource to tap into for at least this year. So you might be looking at 2 hours of volunteer support weekly. You might have 4 hours of outsource, so you actually pay for professionals so that they kind of keep things ticking over. But then you've got the other parts of the organization working as well. So you might have 1 hour of staff time dedicated to Instagram or Facebook or the website or blog writing. It could be an internship, so partnering with local training organizations to find those people and resources, which means that there's less management from your perspective. So you can go to your local universities and TAFEs or training organizations and actually speak to the teacher who teaches a class in marketing or business, and they are always looking for exciting experiences for their students. So there is a lot of ways to get around this this budgeting question by tapping into those resources. And then the teacher actually provides a lot of the support and the management to the student, if they're a good teacher. You also might have advertising, printing, or other resources that are required as a result of your marketing. And I think, generally we definitely want to move away as much as possible from this paperless society, but we absolutely have to still reach people in the mediums that they are comfortable with. Not everybody is sitting at a computer or a phone, and not everyone is on social media, as we know, although the huge proportion of people are. But there is that consideration if your audience is an older audience, or they're actually just they don't have the same internet access that others have. They might have other vulnerabilities that prevent them from accessing some of what we consider a basic need now, being internet access. Then how are we going to reach those? So still a pamphlet and a letterbox drop in particular neighbourhoods, or getting that information out there and disseminating that information, is still a really important aspect of our work. So have a think outside of the box. And when you don't have the kind of resources, like some bigger organizations have plentiful resources, and again, they are facing some of the same issues. So they, these bigger organizations, they have plentiful resources, but there still might be only one marketing person or two marketing people, and they have these huge goals, and it's actually just impossible when you look at all the different hours to get the work done. So thinking about how you can tap into the environment and the community around you, which can also achieve more connection to people, I think is a really a good way of thinking about budget. So the next part of the marketing action plan is to define your target audience. So to do a bit of a deep dive, and one of the ways that I like to break this down is to start with a list of who are they? Are they a client, a member, a referrer? And the referrer could be a partner or a family member that's referring clients to you. Are they a donor or have some kind of a monetary relationship with your organization through fundraising? Are they a partner, such as another community organization that you work really closely with, a government organization, or could they be a funding body? So actually write all of those audience or stakeholders down, and then think about the demographic of those people. So your clients, they may come from all walks of life, and that's fine, but they probably do have similarity somewhere. So what is that similarity that your clients do share that helps you reach and speak to those people? Is it a demographic? Are they the same age, gender, occupation? Are they at the same life stage? Are they located in the same place? Is the service you offer just for local people that hail from a particular area? Do they share a certain education level? So if you can try, and it's not to exclude other people. I know that a lot of organizations consider, are we excluding people by talking to these people? No, you're not excluding people, but you're making it really clear on who it is that you're targeting. And you can have broader messages as well. But if you want to hone in and actually speak to people and get their attention, then you have to consider about the majority of people that you engage with. So if you are if you're trying to alleviate homelessness, if you are working with really young children or troubled parents or troubled teens, then a lot of the time your actual marketing messages are going to be going to the people that are referring those more vulnerable people into you. So you need to think about that. Is it their parents, their grandparents? And then you would actually have a conversation about that client through your social media and through your marketing activities. So what are the key attributes of the audience? Their values, their interests, what are their needs? They want to go from this place to that place. So I want to, I want to be more connected to people. I want to be less isolated in my life. I want an opportunity to give back to my community. What are their fears? Well, I'm fearing going outside, and I'm fearing connecting with people in a face-to-face environment, but I'm hoping to still maintain some kind of a connection, and maybe you can be the facilitator of that connection. So their hopes, their aspirations, and one of the things that we often talk about is where are they spending their time? So searching on Google, and Google is interesting. Google actually captures the hopes, fears, and dreams of most people. We tell Google and we ask Google to solve problems that we're not comfortable telling anybody else about. So there's a lot of data that you can get from that. So if you're trying to understand the key attributes of your audience, what are their fears, their hopes, what are their needs, and what problems are they trying to solve, there's actually mechanisms and tools that you can look into the data and say, okay, well, what are people searching on Google? And you can get an understanding of what those hopes, fears are, so then you can better talk to that audience. So where else are they spending their time? Are they Facebooking? Are there social media channels, LinkedIn, YouTube, podcasts, could be anywhere. And what problems are they experiencing? health, family, education, work, access, loneliness, income, relationships. So there's a handful of examples here. And the idea is in the template provided, and of course you can add more columns and rows and tabs to really deep dive into this, is to describe your target audiences in that table that we've provided there. Okay, so what we also then need to look at once you've addressed your target audience is what worked well in marketing in previous years. So I've said this year, and that should say in previous years. I'm sorry I did this on my own. What were the strengths? And look, the last 2 years may not be much of a test for you because it has been so disjointed. So you could call back to other years. But what are you doing well? Where do you have the evidence that says, yes, this marketing activity worked really well for me? What sets you apart in terms of the strengths that you bring to marketing and engaging in your community and engaging with your stakeholders? What are your good qualities online? Is it that you have a really strong following? Is it you have a great message? You have great images? Do you have a video library? Are you really active in providing live information or Zoom connection opportunities? You know, what are all those strengths? Write those down, because doing more of what you're really good at is always a great idea. And then what are the opportunities? So what are your goals? Are the demands shifting in your community? Is it a hybrid model that people are after, so that you might have a much smaller audience in a face-to-face context, and demands are shifting and people are becoming more comfortable in participating in activities online? And I think as people in the not-for-profit sector, we don't really want to do things online all the time, but other people are becoming more attuned to that lifestyle. And no, it's not great, but that's a way that we can really engage people. So are the demands shifting, and do we have opportunities to engage people in marketing in those new opportunities? And how can it be improved? And then what were the weaknesses? What do you need to ditch or revise? So if something isn't going well, is it time to ditch it? Maybe it is. If it's really important, maybe it's time to improve it. I will say here, numbers sometimes on social media, depending on your service, are going to not necessarily be the measure of whether something's going well. So let me explain that. If you're offering a service to very vulnerable people and you're talking about topics that are actually quite deep, and people might be engaging, seeing and reading your messages, but they're actually not going to like, comment or share on it because it's too personal, because there are other people that can see what those people are doing on social media. So it doesn't mean that your efforts are in vain. It does mean that it's more likely that people who are finding value in your social media posts that maybe you're not getting the comments and shares on will be directing themselves to your website to have a more personal interaction with you. So I hope that makes sense. So it doesn't mean that you would ditch a social media channel altogether if you were in that spot, in that sweet spot of being providing services to really vulnerable people, where other people would be I'll say ashamed or feeling really vulnerable to the point that they don't want to engage with you on a social platform. So then your measure becomes how many people are going from social media to your website, and those measures can be put in place through data so that you can actually see the return of traffic to your website from socials. So I hope that makes sense. Are resources adequate in a particular area? If you have 10 social media channels, one person and 1 hour a week, obviously you're going to need to ditch some of those or figure out a way to make the most of all of those channels if it's absolutely essential that you keep them. And what are others doing better? It's always good. I don't like to get caught up in the competition, and it's hard to say competition when we're all here to service and do things for the community. But what do others do better, and what information can we take from them that makes our life easier? So in the marketing action plan, you've got available. We've asked you to write down what you will keep, ditch, or revise, and some examples here on the screen. Now, the next part of the marketing action plan is what channels will you select? So plethora of channels. Digital, is it going to be your website, blog, video, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, email marketing, podcasting platforms? There are an endless amount of opportunities. I think if something really appeals to you, you've also got to take into consideration your target audience. If they are not spending time on Facebook, then you need to not be on Facebook. You need to be spending time investing and talking to your community in the places that they're showing up in. And a lot of the opportunity right now is online, obviously, but there's a lot happening face to face, and there are a lot of places that people do go out to. Can you put little posters or information up at the local supermarkets? You know, are there places that you might be able to reach people through messaging? Community messaging boards that are out in real life are a good way of getting in touch with people. And also just a little bit more about Facebook, because it's a huge network of people are spending time on Facebook. It's not enough really to just post to a page on Facebook. You really need to look at what are the community groups, and look, probably all of you know this already, but what are the community groups that my organization can join so that I can engage in meaningful conversation about things that are happening in our community. So you often will have, for example, the Malakuta community group, community news pages, buy swap sells, and all of those pages, in my experience having worked for a lot of organizations in trying to reach local audiences, those groups are fantastic. The people that run those groups are really inviting and welcoming of community organizations sharing their messages into those groups. So expecting people to find your page or find your post or magically just coming up in their newsfeed isn't enough. You actually have to think of, so they're on Facebook, you're on Facebook, that's not enough. You need to go deep dive into the group that they're on. With Insta, you need to do hashtag research, because people are searching for information through hashtags. So, you know, there are some really important nuances that you need to be aware of so that the time spent in these places is really valuable, and it's actually reaching the people that you want to reach. So do think at that next level within the social media platform how it is you're going to engage. If it is through video, and I think video is an underutilized resource in the not-for-profit space. And I think, you know, a lot of the time we're scared to get on a video like this, but look at me, I'm just showing up and doing this webinar today, and in the same way you can show up and to your community and say, well, you know, these are the things that we want you to think about. And it's not perfect. I'm not doing this perfectly at all. But I'm here and I'm just sharing the information that I have available. And it takes a bit of practice, but it's well worth getting into, because people respond well to that kind of communication, because they can absorb it much more easily. You can share it quite readily. And, you know, a post of a video is worth 1,000 words, literally. You'll get a lot more views. You've also, of course, got your traditional marketing channels. So your networking, your print ads, your direct mail, your giveaways, press releases, events, publications, what your referral strategy is. Strategic alliances are really, of course, a very, very powerful tool for funding bodies and for community. People working together is people working really better and being able to add value to each other and their work, and then it gets your message across to a lot more of an audience as well. So if someone else has built trust with another organization, then they trust the relationship that organization then has with you. Strategic partners are really important, and they can't be denied. So in 2022, what channels will you select? So we've got 88% of Australians use the internet. Now, I think these figures have actually gone up again, but we don't have the data released yet. So this is actually about a year old. And 47%, again, this is going up, access the web via a mobile phone. YouTube is the most used social media channel, with 80% of Australians accessing YouTube videos, and it has strong use across all ages. It is mostly used as in logging in and watching video content, absorbing content by younger generations. But as I said, it's a strong use across all ages. Facebook, 80% of users are aged between 16 and 64. And again, strong use across all age groups. Instagram is absolutely growing. 53% of Australians have an Instagram account. 40% Gen X, Millennial 61%, and Gen Z 69%, Generation Alpha 19%. So LinkedIn, 4.5 million people in Australia, and more executives and managers use LinkedIn than any other platform. And the average login on LinkedIn is once per week. It is a really great platform, I think, if you're looking for those strategic partnerships with business. But that is going to be a decision to use LinkedIn is going to be based on how important those partnerships are to your work. Volunteer hours, a lot of businesses today, even small tiny businesses, one people shows, they want to show that they're making an impact socially, environmentally. They want to express that to their customers. So I think it could be really valuable if this was the avenue that you were going down, to get onto LinkedIn and use it for that purpose, to help advocate for your cause and to get people to really learn about you and then share your work through their networks. And you might have, for every $100 I make, $1 of it goes into, your cause. So I think there is plenty of energy out there in the for-profit world for the not-for-profit sector, and definitely worth tapping into. So write down the marketing channels that you're going to use this year. Write down the investment in time or resources. So if you have money, write down how much money you will spend on advertising, or how much you will outsource, or if you're going to get marketing mentoring. 1 hour per week on Facebook, an hour per fortnight on the website. You can schedule a lot of this information, and you can repurpose content and information. So if you have a content plan for the year, then I would say absolutely look at some keywords that people are searching for on Google. Write articles that address what people are searching for on Google, so you're solving people's problems, and then disseminate that information into absorbable chunks that you can put on social media. I do this as a strategy myself. I spend a lot of time and energy on writing really thorough articles, and I have a copywriter who makes that amazing for me, but I spend a lot of time focusing on what information is going to be useful to my audience. I put it on my blog, and then that information can then be disseminated into emails and useful tips and strategies for even my webinars and for other places. So I highly recommend thinking about your website as a starting point, so that you can then add value to all of these places where you have your online presence. And a local newspaper, you can then publish the article that you wrote for your website in the local newspaper. They like good content, reach out to them and get some traction there. Further, you could print it in other local publications like high schools, primary schools, kindergartens. It depends on what kind of organization you have, of course, but hopefully you can make this transferable to where you're focused. Then we want you to think about your point of difference. So we've got 6 P's for you here. What's your point of difference? Is it a product or service? Is the product, the design, the quality, the features, or the options available of the service that you have your point of difference? Is it the place that you're located in? You might be the only people that offer what you offer in your region, can't be accessed anywhere else. It might be that you do offer this hybrid model of engagement and community services, so that is a point of difference. The price, it might be free, it might be discounted, there could be timing or locations. It could be fantastic value for a donation. It could be that you have made it laid out really clearly where a donation, for every $1 that's donated, 20 cents goes here, 80 cents goes to the cause, 20 20 cents to admin, whatever it is, that can be a point of difference for your marketing to seek donations. Promoting, so it could be that the content that you have or the communication and the messaging that you have is your point of difference. People that work for you people that work with you or for you, so it could be a notable person, somebody that is looked up to. It could be that you have a team of young people from XYZ doing whatever activities it is that gives you more of a resonance in the community. It could be partners, so how you collaborate with other people might be your point of difference. It's really important to highlight your point of difference, to write it down, and to make sure that you communicate that in your marketing messages, that these are the points of difference. When you work with us, you get this and no one else offers that. So you can access and register anytime, anywhere that suits people's lifestyles for a service offering, or we are experiencing helping people of all ages, stages, and backgrounds. Have a think about your point of difference and write that into your marketing action plan. Next is your marketing messages. So what messages are you going to communicate to your audience this year? Is it going to be around safety, what you're doing to keep the community safe? COVID, fires, drought, could be anything safety related. It could be community, so raising awareness about the local context, educational, or entertaining and inspiring. Or you can do the edutaining, which is fun and inspiring, but also educational. So I've got some examples of what marketing messages might be in the COVID context. So one message could be around the roadmap for our organisation has been updated. We are required to ensure all our participants show their proof of double vaccination before entering activities of the house. This is for a neighbourhood house example. Please be respectful of our staff as we are respectful of you. So that kind of messaging around, you know, this is just what has to happen. A further message might be, if you haven't been vaccinated, here's information on that, or here's ways that you can engage with us, because we still value you as a member of our community, and this is how we can offer to work with you at this time. Another message could be around building trust and connection with people by saying that you know that we're in tough times. There's been a strain on many people, and we know there is now continued uncertainty relating to COVID. So it's important to try and have connection if you feel exhausted. So really connecting with people at the level that they're at, and then offering them a way forward to move through this time into a better space of well-being. Or you might have some community message, some just nice tips and advice, what to do if you're in isolation. We've come up with 7 tips for you to improve XYZ whilst you're in isolation. Why don't you do 1 activity per day, and then shout out to us, email us, call us, let us know how it's going for you. We have heaps of our community in isolation all the time now, 7 days in a lot of cases, people that are experiencing COVID, and it's really nice if we can offer them places to reach out and activities that they can do at home. So just how do they look after their well-being? I'm getting close to the end of time. I'm sorry, I do want to have time for questions, but I feel that the content of this is relevant enough. So let's keep going. So then we need to set your overall goals in your marketing action plan. So the why, the who, the how, the costs, and the measures. So in bringing this all together, summarizing the previous points we've talked about, we say, what's the marketing goal 1? So I'm going to launch my online course. I'm going to, and why am I going to do that? It's to increase learning opportunities and accessibility for students to reach a wider audience. How we achieve this, we're going to update the website, create social media campaigns, inform previous learners, go through a mailing list, drop flyers at employment agencies, and go to local community venues. So we're being really specific on how we're going to achieve this goal. who needs to be involved. So we've got a flyer designer, social media management. Then we've got when, the time frame that you're going to do it in, be very specific on the dates, how much it's going to cost, how much time you need to put aside to be involved in the activity, and then what are the success measures. So in your simple marketing action plan, we've got 3 marketing goals, which I think is a really good start if you can be super specific about what you want to achieve in 2022. And one of the final things that we have there is what are the skills and technology you need. So do you need social media training? Do you need to have some Canva templates done by a professional? Do you need some website training or someone to handle that aspect? The technology need, of course, you need computers, maybe a Canva license that's free for not-for-profit organizations. If you don't have Canva set up or you don't know what Canva is, check out Connecting Up's other webinars. I know that they have people teaching Canva from time to time. It's basically some graphic design software that's amazing for not-for-profit. And have your Facebook and Insta pages set up as an example. What I need to do to update my website. So always thinking about your website. Do you need to update software, plugins, update the homepage to reflect the current state of your organization? And what I need to do to update my social channels. So just check in on what skills and technology updates are required to make sure that you're conveying where you're at now in 2022 and what you're offering now. Pretty simple stuff. Like I said, it was a simple marketing action plan. We were going to do a poll, but I'm not going to do that poll now because I would like to go to questions. I was just going to ask, do you have the skills required in-house to achieve your marketing plan? Feel free to pop that in chat. And I just did want to offer a free 30-minute user experience mini audit of your website. So it's a mini audit because it's only 30 minutes. It is completely free, and we'll be talking about how a user might perceive your website and help you to detect any problematic issues. So you can book on Calendly directly with me, and I'd look forward to having a chat with you about how you can improve your website user experience. It is all about how we connect with the people that we want to connect with. So feel free to ask any questions, and Jean is going to put the link so that you can book with me. Oh, she's done that. The link that you can book with me. Oh no, she hasn't done that. So Jean is going to put the link that you can book with me in Calendly, and we'll go to questions now.
All right, done. It's on the chat, and then this will be on the follow-up email as well, the 2 links that included into the webinar.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Belle. It's a very, very informative sections. And so if you have any questions, please plug into the questions box. All right, so Mary is asking, Alice. So I can answer this for you, Alice. So the presentation and the recording will be sent to you in 1 to 2 business days. So you'll get that very soon. And Nicole is asking, would you please post the booking details here? So if you want to book you, so I guess that's the link you already provided. Yeah.
And that link is in the chat, I believe.
Yes, it's in the chat as well. And Renee is saying thank you. It's a great sections, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, Renee. Thanks, Mary, as well.
Okay. So there's a question is about like in terms of the marketing plan. So what do you think is the most important elements that they should be invested time and money on?
Yeah, and look, I think that it is, sorry to answer it like this, but it is going to depend on what you're hoping to achieve as an organization. So I think if you have had places where you've been successful in your marketing previously, then the best thing that you can do is to build on those successes. I would avoid trying to do too many new things when you know some of the old things are working. But look, I think where is really important is you do need, your website does need to reveal what you do. It does need to be updated because often our marketing is directing back to the website. So the website or social media channels as well, need to work for you 24/7 when you're not there. So they have to have as much information as possible because people aren't just accessing your services in the 9 to 5. So I think if you're going to focus on something, it would be making sure that people can understand exactly what you do, how to get help, what you expect them to do next in your online presence, because it works for you 24/7.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you for that. So Jara is asking, would you please recommend the best platform for the website? For example, WordPress, Wix. Also, are there any affordable or free resources that you can recommend for NFPs when it comes to a third-party web development?
Okay, so look, I build in WordPress. There's a lot of reasons that we build in WordPress at Digital Services Lab, but that doesn't mean it's the best option for you. And I'm sorry to say again, it actually does come down to your needs, your budget, and what it is you're requiring to communicate. I'm happy to have a chat further to you, Gerard, if you wanted to book on my calendar and just talk through your specific areas. I'm not sure of anyone that offers free web development, but there is definitely a sliding scale. And there are some good providers who can do a really great service. You know, you get what you pay for, but depending on your needs, you want to make sure that you are paying for the right amount. So look, I'd be happy to talk to you about your specific needs and where you might start. You've obviously, if you invest the time into training, then you could build your website yourself. And definitely, I think it's easier to be on one of those drag and drop website builders if you're doing it yourself and that's not your skill set, because you can do tutorials and there is a level of ease to, basically click next, go here, do this. But if you need things like event systems, learning management systems, membership portals, donations tools, then that becomes a little bit harder. Yeah, so absolutely depends on your needs as to whether I'd recommend a drag and drop builder or to have a bespoke development.
Lovely, thank you for that. And we got one last question. So Dina is asking, do you have any websites that you think is pretty good that you're happy to recommend so that they can have a look and get a feeling?
Yeah, definitely. So, well, this is interesting because I build websites. So if you go to digitalserviceslab.com.au or you send me an email, my email is at the bottom of the slides at the moment, then I can send you a link to a range of websites that I think are good. But you could also give me a bit more detail about what your kind of organization is, because sometimes there are actually web developers out there who specifically build for a specific, it could be health, it could be kindergartens, it could be schools, neighborhood houses. So yeah, send me an email, Dino, and I'll be able to direct you to it. And I promise I won't just send websites that we've built ourselves, but they'll be in there.
No worries. And I just plugged digitalserviceslab.com.au onto the chat box. So Dina, you can just access to the link. And I'll also include this link into the follow-up email. So don't worry about missing the link. Sorry. All right, so looks like we are pretty done for the Q&A. So before we finish, do you have anything to add, Belle?
Just thanks everyone for being here and bearing with me while I took on two presenter roles for the day. I hope I was comprehensive enough.
Yes, really great. Thank you again, Belle. It's really great webinar. And thank you so much, everyone, for the sections. So I guess most of you are having my screen share now. So it's an upcoming event for the 15th of February. The name is 7 Mistakes Not-for-Profit Made on Social Media and How to Avoid Them. So the webinar itself is a really great one. So we have Alicia Hancock, the director of Hancock Creative. So the event is basically let you to understand how to choose a correct platform and how to target your market instead of trying to appeal to everyone. And it shows the best one is why analytics are critical to success and how you could analyze different things. And also there's handouts as well in the webinar. So if you're interested, feel free to just scan the QR code here, or I'll also include this into the follow-up emails. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Belle, again for donating your time and effort. We really appreciate that. All right.
Pleasure.
We'll see you very soon. Thank you.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
Jean. Bye.
Thank